Yeah, I just need to quick change this out. The web page. Done and update. Also, I don't have any music.
Just sing.
We'll edit that in.
Yeah.
Let me make sure we're good. All right, I'm hoping it's the new one. We'll find out if we have no viewers. Come on. Just not positive it's the right one. Shoot. Well, we don't have any viewers at the moment, so there's no rush here to get started, especially if no one can find us on the webpage. Just got to get it set here.
That would help.
Update. I might have to hit play just to make sure it's going. Come on, load. Well, we sure turn simple things into
I know.
difficult ones. Are we here? Are we live? Okay. We are good. And let's see. Do you want to do any of the welcome or just have me do it?
Go ahead and do it, and I'll do the craft beer seller part.
Yeah. I mean, you want to do the craft beer seller part?
Yeah.
All right. Let's pretend we had music, and I'm going to kick us off here. Sound good?
Yeah, except I only saved my part. What do you say right before I say craft beer seller?
I say tonight's episode is brought to you by our official sponsor, Craft Beer Cellar, and then you go.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's a good lead-in.
All right. All right. So pretend there's some music, folks. We'll have music in on the podcast, but technical difficulties and a late start tonight. Welcome to Pub Theology Live, a weekly conversation on life and faith over a pint. Tonight's episode is brought to you by our official sponsor, Craft Beer Cellar.
Craft Beer Cellar is a family of retail craft beer stores focused on amazing beer, hospitality, and education with 25 locations in 11 states across the country. Visit craftbeercellar.com for a location near you. Keep listening all this month for an opportunity to win free beer from Craft Beer Cellar.
Absolutely. And how can you win that beer? You can join our conversation on Twitter by following us at Pub Theology and using hashtag PTLive in your comments. Or on Facebook, you can jump in at facebook.com/pubtheology. Comment anytime while you're listening to the show or when you're listening to the podcast later for your chance to win free beer at the end of the month. Watch live Tuesdays, 9 p.m. At pubtheology.com, or you can listen anytime on SoundCloud, Stitcher, or iTunes.
Brian, you can't talk and read at the same time, can you?
Yeah, well, I can't talk and invite people to calls at the same time. We are flying by the seat of our pants tonight.
As usual.
Friends. 1 second.
All right, Ogun looks better now. Oh, wait.
Do it sound better?
No. I was hopeful for a second there.
You're looking good. I will say that.
Well, that was a good under any circumstance.
It'll be serviceable.
All right, so
you were right in the middle of the intro. I'll continue as I was.
Oh, we are? Oh, okay. I'm catching up.
Tonight, we discuss Morgan Freeman's assertion that God can be real and an invention. He says life is more about what you believe than almost anything else. That's why God still exists. We'll also discuss Bono's assertion that there's a lot of dishonesty in Christian music and art. Do we agree with that? And if so, why? And also, do you think of God as feminine Why or why not? And what are the implications to a feminine side of the divine? Well, I am Brian Burkhoff. I am calling in from Michigan, enjoying some craft beer here, and joined by Tina Simmons and Ogun Holder. Welcome, friends.
Hello.
Howdy.
What are we drinking tonight?
Oh, I'm not drinking anything because I didn't get my beer yet.
Oh my gosh.
It's been one of those nights.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm
What you talk?
I'm still working on my Citradelic 6-pack that I have. So
Nice. Excellent. And I've got a Belgian white ale, Kinru Blue. I haven't tried this one before, but
let me see the label, Brian.
Ready for
when
a
you're
beer.
done
Just
pouring.
a second. Pouring that thing up.
I know
That's
maybe we should have started that before we had all the tough technical difficulty. We could have made
Yeah, I
it
should be on my second beer or third by
right.
now. Can you see it?
Oh yeah. Okay, that's cool. Kinryu. Cool stuff.
Nothing fancy. It is brewed in Belgium, though, so that's got to be worth something.
Did we get Ogun back yet?
I'm here.
Oh. And what are you drinking?
What are you drinking,
one
Frank?
of my standby favorites, the Curious Traveler Lemon Shandy.
Oh, he's bringing out the shandy.
Nice.
It was the first. Didn't need to wear a jacket all day here. So I thought it was good for shandy. Of course, now it's a little frozen because I had it in the freezer to get that extra chill. And with all the hiccups and stuff we were having, the thing's frozen.
You got extra chill, and now you got a lemon shandy slush.
I got a lemon slush.
That doesn't sound too bad, actually.
That sounds pretty good. Lemon ice.
A little bit.
Thing.
Maybe. Alrighty.
It's like a lemon ice with a little vodka in it.
There you go. So what did I miss?
That sounds good.
So
Nothing.
Nothing at all. We're trying to drink our beer as fast as possible to chill out. Our first question is: would you rather be on a boat or on the beach?
Boat, hands down, no question.
Oh.
Beach.
Yep. Oh, you don't like the water, do you?
No, I like the water. I like you can't drown on the beach, really. I mean, no, you can't get shipwrecked on the beach. Boats go down.
You get shipwrecked on the beach. Boom.
Things happen.
What a fear-based response.
Beaches are cool. Beaches are, more happen on a. I just like beaches.
I like the mobility of being on the water. I like the freedom of it. I love boats. Any kind of boat, put me on it.
Yeah. So what's your favorite kind of boating outing? Is it where I'm guessing, I could be wrong, it's not a charter fishing outing, more of we're cruising the lake, having some beverages, maybe somebody's water skiing once in a while, getting some sun?
I like them both. It's funny that you say that, though, because I used to organize the charter fishing boat for my work. I love fishing. And, I love it. I love going on charter fishing trips out in the ocean. I like being out in the ocean where you cannot see land anywhere around you. Just me.
Okay.
What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning with Ogun on this one. I'm kind of a beach person. That's like a zen place for me, just to be on the sand, chilling out, getting some sun, making sandcastles with the kids, playing frisbee or beach volleyball. I love it. That said, going out on the boat is always fun. I don't mind, hanging out on the boat. I'm not much of a water skier, but I don't mind if, other people are water skiing. I just, as long as we're getting some sunshine, doing a little swimming, I could go either way, but I would definitely lean toward the beach.
Well, I have to tell you, if there's a storm in the area, I'm a beach person too. I'd rather be on the beach than the boat.
See, this is why
Nice.
beaches are better.
No, they're safer. There's a difference. I don't always take the safe route.
Since when is safer not better?
Really, Ogun?
Yes,
All right.
really.
That has got to be a future question,
Since
Brian.
when is safer, not better?
Oh my gosh.
I'm not saying not do anything that's remotely unsafe, but I'm just saying, all things being equal, you know,
I think we're missing a couple of verses from Genesis where Ogun says to Noah, "Oh, the boat? No, 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 thanks. I'm chilling on the beach. It's all good. Safer."
touche. Well played. Well played.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Safer is better. I'm just baffled by that. Like nothing would ever be accomplished if people played it safe.
Well, there's a line between, being brave and being reckless.
True. No one said
So
anything about reckless.
yeah.
So by your own admission, you're being on the boat comes with a lot of conditions, namely good weather. I could be on the beach anytime.
Not if there's a tsunami coming. Bad weather can still hit the
Listen,
beach.
if there's a tsunami coming, we're both screwed, boat or beach.
Exactly. If there's a hurricane coming, we're both screwed. Same thing.
But I'm better off at the beach. I can land.
Whatever. I'll take my chances. I can dock in any beach if I'm on a boat, but you're stuck on the one you're on.
I think.
Boom.
Not changing the question.
Wow.
All right, Brian, move us on.
Move us on. All right, we are up to Morgan Freeman. He's in the news. I don't know if either of you have tuned into his new television series on God that's on National Geographic Channel. But he was interviewed recently, and he said that he believes God can be real and an invention. And then we have a few quotes, but before we get to the specific quotes, I want to discuss this idea that God can be real and an invention. What do you think about that?
I heartily agree, because I think God is real, but I think mankind has continually invented what God is, how to interact with God, how God interacts with us. I think we're making it up in as much as we are discovering it and giving new names to it. This is why, God of the Old Testament looks vastly different from the God of the New Testament, when some would say vastly different from how some of us interpret God today. So on some level, we are uncovering and making it up as we go along.
Well, I kind of think that's about anybody. Like that goes with people too. Like I'm a real live human being. I'm real, but how you perceive me and see me as a person is kind of your own story. So
Yeah,
I get that.
Whoa.
I think you're reinforcing the point.
I am. That's what I'm saying. I agree with you. I was just
I
putting
didn't
a
realize
different analogy.
that happens so rarely. I just automatically.
You stop it, Ogun. Lately it's been happening at least once a show. Just saying. I even quoted you last week when you weren't here.
I don't know
Boom.
once a show over the course of 60 minutes can come as regularly.
Whatever. What do you think, Brian?
Well, my thought is that he's got in mind the ways that we construct versions of God in our own image, which we cannot help but do at some level. And we all, people of faith, will do this at one level or another, because we are not able to apprehend God in his or her perfect form, or we're not able to apprehend the divine perfectly. So in lieu of that, we're going to modify God by coming up with ideas about God that we often will then replace God with subconsciously, and think or assume that the God we're speaking about is not just our version of God, but the actual God who exists. And every time we do that, we're just a little bit off. And so I think, yes, God can be real and can be an invention.
Again, Brian, though, everything you just said, don't you think we kind of do that to other people too? You can't completely
Sure.
100% know other people and what's in their head and their
course.
full story.
We have to. It's called projection. We can't know everything about somebody, and yet we have to know something about them if we have a relationship with them or have heard about them, and so we'll fill in the gaps with what we think we know or make assumptions and so on, and we're not always right in those things. But I am intrigued by this commenter on Facebook who said, the idea that God can both be real and an invention seems to violate the law on non-contradiction. So what do we think about that? Is it a contradiction to say God can be real and an invention?
No.
I think it's a paradox, not necessarily a contradiction. And it's another level. What if, because there's so much at play and at work in the universe that is unexplained, or our ancient human selves gave it the name God, perpetuated this idea of God as the equal to the unexplained phenomena in the universe, and therefore invented God as this explanation for what's going on in the universe that we can't see with and perceive with our five senses. In that sense, it's still real. There's still something at play. There's still stuff happening, but we've invented a name for it, which is God. So
And an identity around it.
An identity around it. So when we go back to the ancient times of people who thought the weather was mystical and unexplained phenomena was a mystical thing, and they invented gods. The Greeks had Zeus and the pantheon. The Romans had their own set of gods. Every culture had this set of gods, and one could argue that there might have been some divine impulse in us that made us want to do that. I think it's a very chicken and egg question, but I'm willing to entertain that the invention of God came first before God did.
So you think God wanted to be known on some level?
No, I'm thinking. No, I'm taking this from a pure idea that that mankind, humankind, invented the concept of God to simply explain what it didn't understand going on in the natural world.
Mm-hmm. The
quantum level, the creation level, things are just naturally occurring. And they said, we can't explain this, so let's call it God, because there's obviously something at play here. There's something making these things
out of our control.
Exactly. There's something out of our control that we have no say in. That the universe, the world is doing its thing, so something must be making it happen. Let's call it God, and let's figure out how to keep it happy so that the rains keep falling and we eat it.
Okay, now, but did you say that those ideas of God came before God?
I'm saying those ideas of God was what, from our perspective, brought God into being.
That brought God into being.
That's an interesting perspective.
That is so strange.
So something doesn't exist until you give it a name?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Something doesn't exist until you conceive it.
Yes, but don't you think what they're tapping into, albeit imperfectly and in different ways, are tapping into something that is already there and already exists? That's the route I would go.
Well, I think that's the route you want to go.
But Ogun, that's like saying something doesn't exist unless I see it with my own eyes.
No, I'm saying it doesn't exist until... Okay, so, all right, so let's take this to a very pragmatic level. Think of a chair, okay? Before someone decided to come up with the idea of a chair and create a chair, did the chair exist?
No, but a chair is a little different than God. Sorry.
I think, yes, but I think maybe the chair is not that different. I think we say chair than God because we've got all this history and controversy and idea and stuff around God. God is a big concept. But what if it was no more or less invented than any of the thing we have in our lives?
So God doesn't really exist, is what you're saying.
I'm saying God only exists because we want God to exist.
Yes, so you're saying God does not exist.
Exactly.
Oh,
It's
which is
just
fine
that,
to say.
to
But
me, that's human arrogance that we're
Listen.
like the center of everything.
I am arguing that proposition. I'm arguing that maybe that's what Mr. Freeman was saying with that statement. That because we have this need to invent God, we made God real. I mean, what's real isn't what's anything
well,
real
of
really matters.
course, right. That's like saying Harry Potter is real. Of course, he's real. He's real as a literary character and
Yeah.
real as a movie character, right? So he's real, but we don't think of that
But
real
why
the
can't we
same
say the
way we
same
think
about
of
God?
the president being real.
Right, but why can't we say the same about God? That God is real.
We can, and many people have, but
Exactly.
that's a different. That's
But I
different
think,
than what I'm saying, which is fine.
well, I know that's what you're saying, but I'm saying that's maybe I'm saying what you're saying. I'm saying that that's what the statement that Morgan Freeman is making about God being real and invented is maybe the other way around, as in we invented God, therefore God is real.
I got you.
I
You
think
know, that makes sense.
we need to get Morgan Freeman on the show. I want to hear what he really thinks.
I think he told us what he really thought. We just have to interpret it.
Well, exactly.
And,
it's like the Bible all over again. I want to hear directly exactly what he thinks.
we've got a nice response on Twitter from Diana Butler Bass. She says, "I've made this same argument many times. One does not exclude the other." So thank you
like
for
the paradox. But that's what.
Here we go.
I think that was an amen from the congregation to Diana.
Right?
I'm gonna mute this till the child gets in the house.
Okay. Brian, that means you have to talk.
Wow. We get a celebrity tweet, and Logan can't handle it. All right. So one of the quotes from Morgan Freeman is that an interesting phenomenon of human existence is that we cannot accept that we are here without oversight. So I think most of us have this idea of God that God is always watching, right? God is in your mind. God knows your deepest thoughts, your deepest secrets. Nothing is hidden from God. And he's saying we can't imagine that actually is not the case. And I'm guessing, based on where Ogun was going with perhaps explaining Freeman's line of thinking, that he thinks maybe we are here without oversight, but that humans can't imagine that that's so. Do you think of God that way, Tina?
So we can't imagine existing without supervision? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
I think, you know what? I think many, many Christians feel that way.
I think given the way the world looks, ain't nobody supervising.
Right? There is no playground monitor right now.
There's no supervision going on.
Yeah, who is supervising?
God's on a coffee break. God's been on a really long coffee break. It's all falling apart.
But seriously, I mean, I'm interested in whether either of you have or had that view of God, because for me, certainly grew up with this idea that God is always watching, and you need to be on your best behavior. I always felt like if I went and saw a movie that my parents wouldn't approve of, that God was also disappointed. In fact, for a while, I thought Jesus was going to come back while I was in the movie, and then I would be sort of caught red-handed. Oh, you could be out saving souls, but you're watching a movie.
Oh my gosh, I feel bad for you, Brian.
And isn't that terrible? That's what some of the evangelicals.
Oh yeah,
I know a lot of people like that. It makes me sad. No,
I don't think that way now, but
I never felt that way. But see, I never, even with my upbringing, I never had a vision of God as a punisher waiting for me to make a mistake. I think God is always with me, but it's more on the I think God is everywhere and sees everything, but it's more on like a compassionate level. Like if I do something wrong or stupid, it's like, oh, do you really want to be doing that? But I don't think God gets involved. I never had that perception that you had, I guess.
I had the same conception that Brian did, and my existential angst was really great that day. Was like maybe 12 and watching Blue Lagoon.
Yeah,
Oh, I
I
forgot
was
about
like,
that movie.
I was like, don't come back now, God, don't come back now.
exactly. Not now. Not
No,
now.
no, it's not the time. But again, all of, really answers to all these questions are predicated on one's view of God, right? So is God the deity out there watching, getting involved, or just watching and not getting involved, or whatever? Is God, the presence that flows in and out of everything, as opposed to something apart from it, a combination of both? And again, back to Morgan Freeman's statement, or all of the really just inventions we have to try to explain what is beyond our senses, but we can still feel maybe on some level. And I think it'll be interesting, because I like to say that people are a real spiritual agnostic, in that I believe as we continue to uncover the quote unquote secrets of the universe, get more explanation to all these things, I think we're going to continue redefining our idea of what God means until the two become one and the same, if that makes sense. So I think there's a spectrum. I wish I could visualize it. I think there's a spectrum which at one end is we can explain all things, and at the other end is God. And that slider is moving from the God end towards the we can explain all things end, but while it's moving, it's encompassing the both and. Does that make
Right.
any kind of sense?
Yeah,
So do you
no,
think?
it's a classic God of the gaps view that, in times past we couldn't explain thunderstorms, so the gods must be angry, or we couldn't understand droughts, and, we need to sacrifice
Right.
X, Y, or Z to make it rain. We don't think that way anymore. Um, and if
Some
we
of us do.
do, as you said, that idea
Yeah.
of God keeps getting smaller, but I think some of us want to expand it and say God is sort of the reality behind all things, and
Yeah,
just because we can explain things from a scientific perspective doesn't mean there's not a divine energy beneath it.
I agree. This is so from previous shows. I mentioned this. It's not God created, but God is the actual force embodiment of creation itself. God is creation and not the creator or the created. Or we
Yeah.
could say God's all the above, creator, created, and creation all in one. But then have I not just basically given the word God as a substitute for the universe at work?
All that exists. Yeah, I mean, it's a very pantheistic or even panentheistic view
Yeah.
that, God is in all, God is all, which I think cuts into certain classic Christian ideas of God, which some are not comfortable with, but I know that's not a barrier for you.
I
So are
have
you?
no barriers.
Yeah. Except for
I'm
the beach and the boat.
I'm an expansive. There you go.
Um, so are you guys saying that we're moving closer, that someday human beings on this earth in our physical form will understand God?
Depends on what you mean by God.
That's a good question.
By we will fully understand and grasp and be clear that about God as a fact instead of an idea.
Again, what do you mean by God?
What? Okay.
No, no,
I would.
no, this is a legitimate question.
But
What?
that's what I'm saying, Ogan. I mean, if God the creator, whatever force created us, are we someday going to understand that while still in physical form? You see, we're working towards it.
I
I'm
would
just
say
asking
no.
you.
But I would say yes, in as much as that's part of us as well. We're imbued with that same sense of, I believe, the divine. So it's a matter of fully understanding ourselves.
Well, see, and that's where we have different ideas of who or
I
what
think you
God
just
is.
avoided the question.
Yeah, I think, of course, we'll continue to understand ourselves, the universe we live in. But to me, God is in some ways mystery in a way that we will never grasp until if and until an afterlife, and there's more clarity on the other side. But as some theologians, I think it was Karl Barth, said, God is wholly other. He is that which is different from finite created beings.
Well, that's just his interpretation.
I understand that, and I know you don't agree with that interpretation, and I don't buy into it entirely because I think it creates a dualism that I don't like.
Right.
But that said, I still think even if the divine mystery is simply within that, well, it's mystery at some level that we're not going to penetrate.
And to call it mystery doesn't mean that when we understand it or uncover it, that we don't still revere it and in awe of it. One would argue that Jesus demonstrated the full uncovery of that mystery and was able to do what he did. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Right. So you would use Jesus as an example of someone who discovered the divine or understood the divine at a very high level and exemplified that.
Exactly. Him saying the Father and I are one, in my interpretation of that, and is not the speaking of, and he given the context of where he was and who he existed, and I'm totally reading my own interpretation into what Jesus said because I wasn't there. He may not have even said it, but that's a whole other discussion. But when he says Father and I are one, I interpret that as him saying, yes, the fullness of who God is, so am I, and so are you. It's these things you shall do in greater. So I think that's kind of what he was doing. And throughout history we have these individuals, these avatars from all faiths, all walks of life, who do the seeming miraculous, who are in touch more with that invisible. The average person be not as open to understanding and perceiving. I think we're all
okay. While I agree that there are people that have touched that
higher. Majority agreed with me. We should keep a tally.
While I agree that there have been people throughout history who have touched that higher power, I don't think any of them have claimed 100% to have the full capacity of what God is and have been able to explain it. To me, the more we uncover facts and the more we discover, the more questions we open up as well. And that goes for science, that goes for God, that goes for everything.
And maybe there's a difference between sort of intellectually understanding God in terms of full explanation versus what Ogun is talking about with some of these figures of the past, like Jesus, for example, or prophets from other traditions, who are in tune with or connected to the divine at a very high level. To me, that's different than here's a little math equation, and that equals God. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. That totally makes sense.
I'm not saying he's connected at a high level. I'm saying Jesus embodied it. He was it. There's a difference between connecting to something and being that thing.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Comment from listener Sarah, who says, "I think the more we understand scientifically, scriptural stories hold less weight, but the wonder of the universe actually expands as well, which is maybe God."
Yeah.
Well said.
The wonder of the universe expands. Okay.
Yeah. So
here we go. I kind of like that.
There we go. That's where. So Tina, I wasn't dodging the question. The answer, the obvious answer to your question is not obvious. The clear answer to your question is yes. I believe there will come a time when us humans evolve to that place where we fully understand, fully are able to embody, live our divine nature, the God of who we are.
Okay. So when that happens, what is going to happen on Earth?
I don't know.
Ooh.
I'm asking for speculation.
The singularity.
It's like the singularity. Is that what you just said, Brian?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. We can't predict what will happen moving forward. But imagine what would the Earth look like, for example, if all of us were as Jesus was, being
Yeah.
able to quote unquote the miraculous things that he did and have that level of insight. It would be a vastly different place.
You know what baffles me? Some people think that that world can't exist.
And as long as they think that, it won't. As a man thinketh, so he is.
Exactly.
Which is why we are in so much chaos and conflict.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Well said. Well said.
All
and
right. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, and here's the thing: if you look at humankind historically over the millennia, we're getting better. I know it don't look that way right now, but when you look at us historically,
That's an opinion.
We are becoming a more evolved species. We're becoming.
How do you know? How do you know, Ogun? You weren't alive back then.
Okay, well, I can give some examples. One example I'll throw there is how we relate to women. It wasn't
There have been societies in the past that have very much respected women, but a lot of them were killed off.
But not on a global level. And one can argue that yes, it's not on a global level now, but there's no corner of this earth where there isn't that effort towards doing that. So the societies that revered and honored women and treated them as equals to men in the way gone past were much smaller. For the most part, women were treated as property.
Ogun, the world was much smaller then.
Yeah, but I think what he's saying is that they were the exception to the rule for how societies operated.
They still are.
Yes, but we are improving, albeit ever so slowly.
They're not the exception to the rule now.
Yes, they are, Ogun. The United States is not a huge part of this world.
I'm not talking about the United States
or Europe.
In more parts of the world. Let's take one example: education. In more parts of the world today, women have access to and are educated alongside men. But they are educated. You do the same 300 years ago? You say the same 500 years ago? No, they can't. Let's look at the right to vote. Sure, everybody doesn't have the right to vote everywhere in the world today, but the vast majority of people do. Vast majority of women do all over the world today. Could you say that 100 years ago? We are getting better as a species. Yes, we're still violent, but we are not committing wholesale genocide and massacres like we did before. We are getting better as a species. The age of the Enlightenment happened. We realized that humans, for their own intrinsic worth, are valuable. So, yeah, we're getting better species. I'm sticking to it.
Again, it's an opinion, because there have been powerful women in history where obviously if they rose to power, women were revered in their societies. Yeah, it's just all I'm saying is it's an opinion. You can.
It is, and I think we should hit that because there's actually a really interesting book that I'm not going to think of the name of course, but it's an exhaustive study on are we becoming less violent as a human species, which I think is connected to are we evolving for the better. And the thesis of the book is that we are becoming more peaceful despite some of the obvious bad things that have happened in recent history. But I think that's a fascinating question. But I want to bring us back to Morgan Freeman here with a quote that says, God is in all things, a sunset, a bloom, a rose. The ultimate answer to the question of God's existence is God is.
That's pretty unity right there.
Yes, it is.
God is. So, yeah, is that kind of what you were saying earlier, Ogun?
Yep.
Yeah, is to me is a more fundamental reality than, well, we just named this thing and now it exists because we came up with a name. To me, it's more real than that.
So again, if we substitute that word God for anything we want to substitute it for. The natural workings of the universe, they just are.
I lost your sound.
Yeah.
Oh, am I back? Am I back?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I was gonna say, substitute the word God for, the natural evolving works of the universe. They're just happening, right? So we could God could be a simple word to substitute for that.
Yeah, but I don't think that's all God is.
So let me ask
We
this
could
question.
substitute it.
Let me ask the question. So before mankind showed up on the scene, before our prefrontal lobe decided to kick into high gear, and we started thinking of these existential and mystical things, and the universe was doing what the universe does, suns exploding and galaxies crashing into each other and galaxies being formed and all that. Was God doing that? Was that God? Was God existed?
Yes.
You think so? So was God controlling all that, or was that just happening?
Some of both.
Some of both.
Yeah,
I mean, it depends on what you believe. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I think God was the energy, power, creative force behind all of those things. How much is God micromanaging it is another question, and I'll leave that open to mystery. But I think God is certainly the impetus, the first cause, or what have you, the source of that initial burst of energy and life.
Was God apart from it, or was God it?
That's where it's tricky. Here's where my mind is like, my entire theological training is that God is definitely separate from it.
What did you say? You must learn what you have learned.
Yeah, sometimes what you already know is what keeps you from learning more, right?
I think you do a better Yoda than I. I'll give you that.
I thought we were just talking about that today. A friend of mine and I, that unlearning is so much harder than learning.
Yeah. So here's what I think. I think, to answer my own question, I think that it wasn't that God was apart from it. I think that's what God was. That very.
You think God was that?
The very act of the universe creating stuff. Now here's my caveat. My caveat is, another 10, 15 years from now, I may have a whole different idea and re-listen to this podcast and go, what nonsense was I talking?
Thank you for that. That's an important caveat.
I might think that tomorrow, Ogan.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. You might think that in the next 5 minutes.
You should post these episodes with a big asterisk.
So I say all these things from a place. I like to say to people, I am absolutely confident that I could be 100% wrong about all this.
Yes, I like that. I like that. It's like provisionally speaking, I think X, right. But I could be wrong.
It's how I can mitigate. It's how I can mitigate the mystery, the unknown, this presence, with no longer the archaic anthropomorphic view of this deity making all this stuff happen.
Archaic. You're insulting half of our listeners.
I
am sorry.
No, you're not.
Archaic.
Had to throw it out there.
Archaic, literally from the idea of very old. It's a very old idea of God.
Now, look at him spin that.
Listen to him. He is good. Ogan, you should be a politician.
Thank you.
Time tested.
I'm not calling it right or wrong. Just saying.
That was smooth.
That's pretty good.
Whoa, this guy turns it around. All right, so what about this? I got one more quote here from Freeman. He says, "Life is more about what you believe than almost anything else. That's why God still exists."
That's what I've been saying.
It kind of is what you've been saying, isn't it?
It's a matter of what we believe. If we believe that God is the deity in the sky, watching over everything, and someday is going to judge us for our actions, we will live according to that principle. If we believe God is simply, this presence of love and creation within us, we're going to live from that principle. If we believe God exists at all, we're just going to make our own choices. Which of those is right? Does any of them need to be right and the other two wrong? All three coexist in harmony. I don't think there's no conclusive answers to those questions, but the way I approach it is yeah, let each person for themselves decide which sits better with them, but ultimately it comes to the question of how do we live with each other? How do we treat each other? How do we,
Yeah.
you know,
Without calling
Or-
each other's beliefs archaic.
or old.
Yeah. Pitiful. Childish.
And
Keep going, Brian.
Just, you know.
and to help maybe redeem a little bit. Newer isn't always better. Let's go with that. So
Wait, repeat that again. I'm sorry, you broke up.
newer is not always better. So
Certainly.
So
Okay.
I may have this, relatively new interpretation or idea of what God is. Again,
He's trying to get back his voters that he lost earlier.
Yeah,
Just
no,
saying.
this guy. Politics.
I think it's part of our human nature to want to know conclusively. And I think we can't ever know this conclusively.
Well, yes, I agree. That's what I was saying.
There you go. Brian's right now. It's conclusive.
For once, it all
Until
comes
we
full
get to the
circle.
point where we all evolve to that place where we fully know God, and then we'll realize that we were probably all wrong to begin with.
Yeah, is it going to take? Will it be episode 99 or episode 1000 where we, discover that we were wrong all
It'll
along?
be episode 70 times 7.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. This guy, it's like he's going for extra credit, but
I
there's no one
know,
around to
right?
hand the extra credit.
I'm here all night.
Well, this guy just won free beer.
Hogan gets it.
Boom. Episode 70 times 7. That was well done.
Thank you very much.
My gosh. Would you rather be with Morgan Freeman on a boat or on the beach?
Wherever Morgan wants to be, I will be there.
I'm with you, man.
Good
If
answer.
people share the same space
Don't
with me, I'll be there.
He could be on a boat, on a plane, in a car, on a train. I'm going to roll my Dr. Seuss right now.
Yeah. Good answer. Good answer. So, in the time that we have left, and we started late, so we can go a couple minutes long, do we want to hit on Bono talking about dishonesty in Christian music, or do we want to hit on God as feminine?
Ooh, God is feminine. God is feminine.
Ooh, look at this guy. All right, so question is, do you think of God as feminine? Why or why not? And if so, what do you think are helpful implications of that?
Thanks to pop culture, I think of God looking like Alanis Morissette but sounding like Morgan Freeman. So
Ooh.
That's awesome.
thank you very much.
I'm sorry, I'm stuck with that visual now.
Right?
Yeah, that's a little jarring, actually. Isn't it ironic, don't you think? Sorry.
For any
You and your
listeners,
you and the music lyrics, man.
for any listeners who don't get that, my movie reference is Dogma, where Alanis Morissette showed up as God but didn't say a word.
Yes, there you go.
That was Alanis Morissette?
Yes, that's
Well
what I'm saying.
done.
Oh my gosh, I have to
You
go
just
back and
pulled
watch
that
it
one out, Dogma.
again.
I need to see that again.
That was an awesome movie.
No.
Yes.
See, I saw it when the stage of my life when I was offended by half of it, and now I would love it.
Oh, now you're going to find it enlightening.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw it at a stage where I should have been offended by it, but I thought it was awesome.
Ah, see, it turned you to unity right there.
Nice.
Kind of helped work me open. And Alan Rickman was the voice of God. Alan Rickman was
Yes, Alan Rickman, may he rest in peace.
Yes.
But now that
Alan Rickman.
Now that you say that, it totally makes sense because Alanis Morissette is huge on the new age movement.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
So one thing I came across talking about God as feminine, I thought was interesting, and this is from sort of a neo-pagan or Wiccan tradition, where they consider the Great Mother to represent the phase in a woman's life that's full of growth, fertility, and the acquiring of knowledge. but there's also sort of this idea of a trinity or a triple goddess represented as the maiden or the young woman, the mother, and then the crone.
Mhm.
And I thought that was really, really
Ironic?
interesting.
A little ironic there.
So it's sort of, reminding us of the roles women play over their lifetime, but also, I mean, think of the role those women play in our own lives, whether we think of our own mothers or grandmothers or those kinds of figures, the older women that we've had in our lives. Those are powerful figures in our lives, and so I think, yeah, why are we not thinking of the divine in this way? I mean, there's a lot of powerful imagery there.
Well, even in the Bible, there we see God show up as feminine too. When you read about in Judaism, the concept of God's wisdom shows up as feminine. So when you read
Yes.
The top wisdom is I forget the verse, but when they talk about wisdom as what they aspire to, they use the pronoun her and she to describe it. So even in Judaism, the parent of Christianity, there is both that masculine and feminine aspects of God when we look at the more mystical side of it.
Right.
Well, and I think in the Old Testament you have more of a patriarchal God, but like I like to think of God as, the division of heart and mind, and I think of feminine as the heart and masculine as the mind. And I know, Brian, I know you're a Game of Thrones fan. Ogun, do you watch Game of Thrones?
Oh yeah.
Oh, so did you guys see the conversation between the king? I can't even remember. I keep wanting to call him Jeffrey, and I know he's not. The king and that crazy sept guy.
Yeah.
Where
Yes.
he talks about the mother, and he talks about that divine love that comes through mothers, and
Yes.
that is God driven. I mean, that is completely God driven.
Yes, he had powerful language about when Cersei, she has her flaws, but when she is speaking to you or speaking of you, there is a purity there that is divine in its source. I thought that was well done.
And I think that speaks for reality too. That divine love is that we see in motherhood is God's love for us too. So the God has to be both feminine and masculine in my mind.
King Tommen, by the way.
Thank you.
There you go.
No, I hear you. I think if we don't have feminine aspects of the divine, we are shortchanging our view of God or goddess or divinity.
So taking that on a societal level, if we don't respect the view of women, the gifts of women, aren't we doing the same thing? We're shortchanging ourselves as a society?
Absolutely.
Totally.
I think society has realized that, and we're so slowly coming around to it.
You say society, Ogun, but I think you're talking about a small. I'm not going to say small portion. You're talking about a portion of society.
Sure. He's probably talking about Western civilization, Europe, America.
I disagree. There are tons of people in America that do not respect the feminine at all.
So I'm not talking at like the individual human level. Of course,
you're not talking about Trump rallies.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm painting with a broad brush generally. I'm talking about what the society stands for as a whole versus what each individual lives. Because of course, there's going to be individuals who are living backwards. Here's a great example with what's going on in North Carolina now, with that whole transgender situation, and the U.S. government basically saying we're going to sue the government of North Carolina because you're infringing upon the civil rights of a group of people. That would never have happened 10 years ago. That wouldn't have happened 5 years ago.
Yeah, totally. It wouldn't have happened 3 years ago.
Exactly. So again, in many ways, a lot of this change is coming from the top down because of as a people as a whole, we've realized that we need to honor everyone as equal. Now, at an individual personhood level, of course there's going to be people who don't think that way. That's why we have the ridiculous law in North Carolina in the first place, because there are people who don't agree with that and are coming up with these crazy laws to prevent that. But they're in the minority. they're in the minority, and these are their last gasps of trying to hold on. Because when you look at the 50 states across America, how many of them have these laws enacted that say it's legal to discriminate against someone who's gay or who is transgender? There aren't a lot of states with those laws on the books. They're not, and those who want to put those laws in the books are having vast opposition. Let's hop over to Africa, where was that Rwanda? I forgot the country. I think it's Rwanda, where they had the horrible genocides a while back,
Yes.
and one of the new government that's formed, one of the things they've decided is that the government has to be 2/3 women, because one of the things they said is if women were in charge, that genocide would have never happened.
Right.
You know,
I like that.
That's what Tina's saying.
I might be wrong on the country.
I am.
I'm pretty sure it's Rwanda. I'll double check that, or if somebody wants to fact check that for me.
It is Rwanda, because I interviewed a girl one time who had gone over there to help out.
There you go. Look at is it Liberia with the is that where Sirleaf Johnson is from? That woman. I mean, so this is happening. Of course, there are people who are pushing back against it. Of course, there's still countries, places where what do you call it? Who are the folks from Afghanistan? The
Pashti?
Well, so the tribes who don't even want women, girls to go to school. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the Taliban.
The Taliban, thank you. So
Yeah.
you can still have these fringe extremist groups like this who are pushing back.
Right.
But again, painted with a broad stroke, much more people are trended toward and supporting the equality of all, and realizing that when everyone is educated, both men and women, the society is better off for it. So, it's been a big ship heading in one direction of discrimination for a long time, and yes, it's taking time to turn that ship around, but the ship's turning. There's no doubt about that.
I hear what you're saying. I guess my big thing is it feels to me like women are treated as equal as long as they act like men. And my point is, I want to see the gifts of women, the natural gifts of women, because women and men are very different, and I will acknowledge that. I want to see the gifts of women treated as equal to men.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yes, that does, and I think that's slowly beginning to change too. Because you're right, there was a time when the woman had to act like a man to be accepted in the quote-unquote man's world, and I think that view's beginning to change as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's wisdom, compassion, power, a number of different qualities that women bring to the table that have a flavor that we need as
I'm
humanity.
not saying that, and we haven't done it yet. There's still ways to go. I mean, even in look at the United States, where we want to acknowledge that we honor women and treat them as equals, but so many ways it doesn't show up. Like 70 cents on the dollar, women are getting paid like compared to men for the job. So yeah, there's still ways to go, but the ship's turning.
The ship's turning. I would agree with that.
But you have to be on the ship to care. I'm just kidding.
Oh, but
you can't be on the beach.
But you're stuck on the beach, and that boat has left.
But listen, it's because I am on the beach.
Harbor.
The ship turning. When I'm on the boat, I'm just on the boat. I don't really realize. If I'm on the boat with no land in sight, I can't tell where I'm going. But from the beach, I can see where the ship's going.
That was weak.
Boom.
Yeah. See, Ogun's on one of those big cruise ships that has a beach on the boat, so he doesn't really realize.
So he
doesn't really realize what's happening. Also, the Earth is a round blue ship hurtling through space, so even when you're on the beach, Ogun, it's not safe.
You're still on the ship.
That's all right.
Funny.
Well, I think we brought it all back around. Any final comments?
How many of these questions did we cover? I don't think we covered a lot of questions.
We missed two of them, but that's okay.
We missed a couple. Well, I kind of we had too many, so I think we did fine.
All right, good
Fun
enough.
stuff.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, friends. Whether you watch this live or you're catching us later on SoundCloud, Stitcher, or iTunes, great to have you with us. You can find and create a Pub Theology in your town. Find info at pubtheology.com, and please help share the word about Pub Theology on social media. And again, thanks to our sponsor, Craft Beer Cellar. Visit craftbeercellar.com for a location near you. And keep listening all this month for an opportunity to win free beer from Craft Beer Cellar. And we are out. Yes, thanks for bringing the tunes at the end. Feels like a real show now.
In the beginning, we just kind of had to fake it, so you're going to have to add that in.
There's no music at the beginning. We just went right in.
We're just we're starting the show.
It's all right. I'll add them later. Yeah, I don't know what's happening with my internet or what's going on.
Yeah, we might have to check that. We might have to do an earlier check next time, or see if you can sort it out between now and then.
We might have to. I wonder if it's my PlayStation. I got a PlayStation.
See, your PlayStation is sucking the bandwidth.
Right? And you didn't unplug that thing?
What I do before the show is put everything on airplane mode. That's not my laptop, so I got one thing on the internet.
I'm not used to having it. I forgot that it was there. But I mean, listen, I've had other devices running, but
you've never come through this way.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm always running
gaming systems really suck everything dry.
I'm running a hardline router. I'm not even on Wi-Fi, so I'm the landline.
That is surprising. I'm running on a phone hotspot.
I'm on Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Show offs.
Well, the good news is we could understand you, and there were some points where even if your visual was choppy, your audio was good, and then a few times it was a little choppy audio, but we'll deal with it.
All right. I will work on that for next time.
Homework assignment.
There you go. I will.
And please, a 5-page report on any emotional scarring that happened as a result of this.
I didn't do homework in college. I ain't gonna start now.
Whoa! Look at this guy.
Anyone? Go ahead.
What? I was just gonna say I have to comment. Neither one of you looked like you were drinking your beer this entire show.
Oh, I was drinking it a lot. I thought.
Empty.
Oh.
You weren't paying attention.
Oh, that might be it.
Anyone went to see Captain America over the weekend?
No, I am not a Captain America fan.
Oh my God, it's a great movie. I
heard it was good.
No, I'm good.
So I say, I know you're not a Captain America fan, but really, it was like an Avengers movie because they were all there.
Oh. That also doesn't mean anything to me.
Spider-Man was there, and it was like everybody showed up.
Everybody was there. It was awesome.
Yes, it was. And you don't need to be a comic book fan to appreciate the movie either.
Yeah, that not my main thing. But you do notice that I'm wearing my Washington Nationals hat, even though they are playing my Detroit Tigers as we speak.
I saw that.
I'm a bit of a traitor right now.
What's up with that?
Well, this went with what I was wearing earlier, so I just kind of ran with it.
Oh my gosh.
More fashion statement than Team Alliance.
Isn't that something? Well, and sometimes you like to go against the grain. So it's like, how many Nats fans are in Michigan? Almost zero. So it's kind of fun to be like, oh yeah, Nats.
You rebel, Brian.
How are your Tigers doing, by the way? 7-game losing streak. Sorry about that.
Yeah, really. Were they walking Bryce Harper left and center?
They need to walk him every time, man. That guy is.
Did you hear what he did with the homeless woman? Did you hear about this?
No, what did happen?
Apparently, they were on the team bus leaving the game or something, and they stopped at an intersection. He saw this homeless woman, and he got a jar and took up a collection with the players on the bus and walked out and gave it to her.
Nice. I thought you were going to say something terrible happened. I like that story.
Why did you go there? I'm curious.
I don't, because he has this image of being sort of brash and cocky and doing stuff without thinking, and
Just on the
apparently he
field.
got into this big verbal spat with one of the umps last night after the game.
That's just on the field. We all have our personas when we show up to work.
True enough. True enough.
So
That's like this show. I just try to be a jerk on the show, but in real life, very calm,
well, you know what? I am
nice.
yeah, right. I'm glad that as the show has progressed, you've definitely like loosened up a lot more and bringing the humor and the flower, just saving it for the after show.
All right. Well, I'm working on that. It's a growth point still.
There you go. So
I think Tina went to go get a bottle of wine or something
I
for the
don't know where
post
she
show.
went. So my
You were
friend,
talking about baseball.
my friend Sarah was watching the show and she said, "I think Brian's tan was hogging the bandwidth."
Oh, yeah. You could see I was out in the sun a little bit, but it's been like rainy here. I don't know when that happened. Brian's tan is hogging the bandwidth. Ouch. My goodness. I'll remember the sunscreen next time.
Oh yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, we had rain here all day, though. What did you have weather-wise in the
It was
Northeast?
gorgeous today, man. I think it hit like 70 today. Sun
Stop
all
it.
day long. Oh, it's beautiful.
We had rain and 52 degrees.
That's what we had last week or yesterday. Today was the first really. Today was the day that made you believe in spring again because it was warm.
Well-
It was sunny, green. Things green.
Just to let you know, Ogan, we had 2 really gorgeous days here, and then the rain started again. Just so you know. It's coming
Sorry. I am not going to be available next week.
I knew. What is this guy doing?
I know. What's up?
What do you have?
Well, okay. Well, last week somebody died, so give me some slack.
Yeah, understood.
Next
We
week
weren't
is the
bitching about last week.
What?
What?
Next.
So we weren't bitching about last week.
Well, Brian was insinuating that I'm gone a lot, so
Yeah, I was. I'm guilty.
yeah, there you go. Like that.
So anyhow,
Uh,
what's next week?
Next week is the UNCO conference.
Oh, yeah.
That I was trying to get Brian to come to.
You
as
were
well.
trying to get me to that. It's not going to happen with
not
my
too late, man, not
my
too
trip
late.
to Scotland coming up. It's just,
Not too late. It's not. It's kind of. It's like $300.
I don't know, but
That's as cheap as conferences get these days.
I've already spent that money.
All right.
But wait a second.
If I spot you, will you come?
Well, that'll help.
I mean, dead serious.
I could think about it.
Think about it.
Where is it? New York?
Yeah, it's like I forget what the name. It's like maybe an hour, not even a full hour north of the city of
Yeah.
New York City.
Well, send me a link.
I will send you a link. I'll send you a link right now while we're chatting. What were you going to say, Tina?
Send me a link.
So if we're taking June and July off, is everybody here for the last 2 episodes then?
Wait, I thought we were taking July and August off.
What? What'd you say?
I thought we were taking July and August.
Oh, is it
off.
July and August? Okay.
Oh, I don't know.
June and
I'm
July.
just,
I thought it was June and July because we were all traveling in June.
Brian's just being difficult. Enjoy.
well,
aren't you going to Scotland?
I'm going the last one in May.
Oh.
Well, I mean, we can.
I'm going to be in Scotland on May 31.
Okay. What about the week after?
I'll still be in Scotland.
Okay.
Well, I mean, okay. Listen,
And the one after that, I'll have just got home the day before.
we can take a break anytime we want. I mean, we can make May 24th the last one for a while.
Yeah,
And,
I might vote for that.
then. And when are you moving, Tina?
Are we still live? June 21st.
Yeah,
have no viewers,
Is it
so
still a
it's-
secret?
No, it's we have no viewers right now.
We have no viewers, and we won't put it on the post show.
Okay. Jim's finding it.
Then take it offline, and we can just chit chat.
Jim's fighting my move.